You are now tuning in the Truenorth.Bet CFL Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be joined with you again. And now with video, as we post on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and soon to be Apple Music. We're going to get into, or Apple Podcasts. We'll be getting into it fairly soon with a lot of new content, guests, so on and so forth. I can't wait to get into this. And of course, I love doing this with guests because you get a chance to see the perspective, so on and so forth. But this is the CFL Truenorth.Bet podcast. You can find them. Of course, you're always, a bet in the right direction with Truenorth.Bet. You can find them online at Truenorth.Bet. Sports betting, casino, live casino, esports, you name it all. Truenorth.Bet has it. And I'm pleased to be joined here, pleased to continue doing this podcast because it's an absolute pleasure. And I love talking CFL football, as you guys do know. It's been picking up some steam as I've heard from CFL players, listen to this, giving their perspective on my recaps, so on and so forth. And of course, there's some smoke out there. Some people saying that probably have the wrong predictions here and there, as I was wrong with one of the really marquee games last week, as the Ottawa Redblacks went into BMO Field in Toronto on the same day as Carabana and beat the Toronto Argonauts 23-13. It was just a game where Toronto kind of gave it away. They had their chances, but Ottawa played well. Jalen Ackland's probably my favorite receiver in the league right now. There's a few guys that are just killing it from the receiving side of view, but Jalen Ackland, 7 receptions, 144 yards, 1 touchdown, along with 46. He couldn't be stopped. You put him in the slot, you put him on the outside X receiver. He was catching everything. Of course, and Nathaniel Bahar with a touchdown on Nate Bahar with a touchdown as well. Guy went to University of Carleton, Ottawa youth, and he's just an absolute terror. He's actually a guest on my podcast, First Net podcast as well, but I digress. That's another thing that we'll get into. And of course, Brampton's own Shaq Johnson had 3 catches in his hometown, 33 yards, along with 21. But Caleb Evans, 2 touchdowns, 82% QB percentage, 24 for 29. He played a really good game, and the game they needed as they got their first win of the season. And they obviously now go to 1-6 on the season. Still last place in the East Division, as you have Toronto still at number 1 at 3-3. They get a chance this week to play the Hamilton Tiger Cats at home at BMO Field. I would love to be. I was supposed to be there, and of course, get a chance to see that. They have 119 points for, 154 points against. Defenses need to clean it up a bit, but that was still a great game. And McLeod Bethel Thompson was slinging it. Curly Giddens Jr. had a chance to catch the ball and extend the play for in the last 2 minutes of the game. Of course, Andrew Harris had a fumble as well too, so it was really tough to see. And of course, if you did watch that game, you understand exactly how the Toronto Argonauts fumbled that game, no pun intended, to actually lose it. That was one of the really big upset of the entire week. In the West Division, we still have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 8-0. They're currently playing the Montreal Alouettes now, and they're going to get a chance to see, if they're going to get a chance to even go up and continue to thrive at 9-0, or have an 8-1 start to the season. But they're on a tear. Zach Collaros is playing incredible. Of course, you have Dalton Shen playing really well. Dembski's back as a receiver, right? Incredible. Nick Dembski, 2 touchdowns in this game, 69 yards. Dalton Schoen, as I said, is the rookie, 2 touchdowns in this game against the Calgary Stampeders, who are in many ways the second best team in the league, beating them 35-28 by a touchdown in Calgary as well, or at the chance to win there. 25,000 people at that game, still beating them, of course, at home, and now, of course, beating them in Calgary. So that was an incredible game. Bo Levi Mitchell, 21 for 32. He did not have a touchdown, didn't have an interception, but didn't get a chance to move the ball too much. But overall, I'm just going to give you my perspective on the season right now, okay? Because really and truly, all these teams are playing. Teams are evenly matched. Teams are doing well. My biggest surprise of the year would be the BC Lions. The BC Lions with Nathan Rourke. He's incredibly accurate. They went into Saskatchewan. They beat Saskatchewan after being down 17-0. They come back to win into Saskatchewan, which is possibly the most hectic crowd there is. They had 27,000 people in the game. They win 32-17. They were down once again in the first half. Come back to win the game. Nathan Rourke, 27 for 33, 2 touchdowns. Of course, you did have James Butler running Ruckshaw on the defense at 77 yards, catching the ball. You had a lot of guys. You have Dominic Rhymes with the catch of the year thus far, one-handed after in the red zone, catching the ball one-handed, scoring. He had 1 touchdown, 5 receptions the entire game. Keon Hatcher had 10 catches for 110 yards. He had a really good game. Javon Katoy had a great touchdown that Nathan Rourke put in the perfect place right through the uprights to catch the ball. It was, and of course, you have Lucky Whitehead. It was continuously reliable all the time. And when it comes down to it, teams that do separate themselves from others, you run the ball, you have a balanced run and air attack, balanced run and pass attack, and many would say. But once again, Saskatchewan was on 10-1 in the first half, in the first quarter, then go up 13-7. Of course, then go from there. But the entire time, no, it was actually 17 to nothing. And then, of course, BC scored back. It became 17-13. And then from there, BC just ran off of it. But the difference in the game is the fact that Nathan Rourke, first-year player, obviously drafted really high last year, now gets under Ian Riley, who just retired, gets a chance to play, and he's just lighting it up. He's a sneaky contender for MVP of the season, MVP of the year in the CFL. Right now would be Zach Collaros because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 8-0 currently. But once again, a great game from Nathan Rourke and an impressive showing from the BC Lions as they find themselves at the number 2. They have leapfrogged the Calgary Stampeders, are 5-1. Of course, losing to Winnipeg in that barn burner of a game. Calgary is third place in the West at 4-2. Saskatchewan's 4-4. And then the Edmonton Elks are still 2-5 in the bottom of the league with the Ottawa Redblacks at 1-6. Montreal, 2-5. Trevor Harris is playing a balanced year so far. Not too bad. They did lose to the Hamilton Tiger Cats 24-17 at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. It was more so of a game where guys like Stephen Dunbar, who leads the league right now in touchdowns, right now at leading the league in touchdowns. He's incredible. He's been playing great the entire season. Just putting up numbers, catching the ball on a screen and taking it right to the pay dirt. Right now, he's got 5 touchdowns. Right, last year he had 4. He's gonna eclipse that fairly soon. He's just played incredible. He's their number 1 in Hamilton, and the Toronto Argonauts have to play good defense on him, be able to bracket him because he can definitely go off for big plays. He had 5 receptions off 9 attempts, 102 yards, a great touchdown. Obviously had a fumble in the game as well too from a big hit, but he's still certified. Braylon Addison's another guy. Tyler Tarnowski, another really good receiver. Don Jackson out of the backfield. He's a really good running back getting the ball. But Dane Evans was 13 for 18, 1 touchdown, but he played a balanced game. Of course, you have Matt Schultz, who's the backup quarterback, coming into the game at 7, throwing 7 for 10. They're using that 2 quarterback system that benefited them so well when they had Jeremiah Masoli, who's currently out right now as an Ottawa Redblack, and Dane Evans going back and forth. That's one of the reasons why they went to 2 back-to-back, Grey Cup championships, but inevitably have lost to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are currently and still the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of the CFL at 8-0. They're look like they're on their way to win another game against Montreal, but who knows exactly what happened there. Montreal, there are a lot of questions with Montreal right now. Trevor Harris is playing well, 24 for 41. He is the most attempts in the league thus far. Weaker arm. He does rush the ball every now and then. They had a chance to win. They should have won this game. They just drop it. Eugene Lewis has some great plays in this game. Jashron Antu had some great plays as well too. Reggie White Jr. had some great plays, but overall just couldn't get it done. It's really what it comes down to. Just can't get it done when it matters most. And it really comes down to, my standout player of the entire week is to me Nathan Rourke out of the BC Lions because he mounted that comeback against Saskatchewan. Cody Fajardo has not played great thus far this season, as the Saskatchewan Roughriders did start really hot. Now we're down to 4-4. He was 18 for 17. Cody Fajardo, 60%, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and it was a costly interception at the end of the game. Something that you don't want to give up, don't want to give because it can be detrimental. And that's exactly what happened. Jamal Morrow has ran the ball pretty well. Of course, Nikhil Williams had 5 receptions. Jamal Morrow had 4 receptions. You need more production out of your receivers. As I said before in past podcasts, Keon Schaefer-Baker out of Mississauga went to Gulf University. He's an incredible talent. Should be the next guy up to be the next star Canadian receiver. He only had 3 receptions or 5 attempts. You got to give him the ball. They got to do a better job. Jason Watch has got to do a better job of mixing the ball around to his receivers, having a better play calling altogether. I know I talk about offensive heavy, but even the defense is find a way to get some crucial stops because it's not going to benefit them too much. But in the game now in the East Division, I remember number 1 is Toronto at 3-3. Hamilton is 2-5 as they've gotten 2 wins thus far. In the CFL, the standings can fluctuate so much throughout the year. It can be pretty tough to go back and forth and see exactly which teams will be dominant, which teams will be struggling by the end of the year. But Toronto is playing Hamilton this week. It's a must-win game. They've obviously beat Saskatchewan twice. But now they got to beat Hamilton. They had a costly loss against Ottawa Redblacks, who have no business of winning that game. But you can't get a stop. Jalen Acklin, Nate Behar, Shaq Johnson. These guys are catching balls and doing just putting up a lot of yards against your defense. Whereas Bethel Thompson and the boys couldn't put it together. Of course, you have Speedy Banks, you have Curly Giddens Jr. You have a lot of guys that can produce ambles, produce as receivers. A lot of guys that you have on your bench that are still really good talents as well too, but they need to play better. They need to show up, and that starts on Saturday with a very, very crucial game, and I can't wait to see exactly what happens there. Can't wait to see what happens with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Currently, I would say my number one player in the league is Zach Collaros, and the best teams are in the West, undoubtedly. You have Saskatchewan, Calgary, BC, Winnipeg, Edmonton, whereas in the East Division, where they are looking to expand the league, you only have 4 teams with Toronto, Hamilton, Montreal, and Ottawa. Right now, Hamilton is the number one team. Well, is the hottest team in the East, as they've won 2 games, beating the Ottawa Redblacks and then beating and then of course Montreal. Now they get a chance to play Toronto. Toronto drops that. It's going to be another year where you go to the East Division Championship and probably can't put it together. It's going to be very, very costly if they can't put it together fairly soon, because that's going to be a very interesting conquest for them to see. But Mikhail Bethel-Thompson's got to play a lot better. They simply have to do a better job of closing games, a better job of getting up on their opponents early and keeping that, not allowing them to get back in the games, because in every game you haven't, other than the Saskatchewan game where Andrew Harris, who is one of the best CFL players of all time, a first ballot Hall of Famer in CFL because of his yardage and being one of the number one yards and scrimmage players of all time, he had a costly turnover. He needs to be better. Everyone needs to be better. Defense, they only scored 13 points. You're one of the best offenses in the league. Should be the best offense in the East Division. You got to score more points. Absolutely have to score more points. Absolutely have to do a lot more in general to mount comebacks, to maintain leads, and go from there. Caleb Evans is a backup quarterback. Once again, team was down, team was losing. He's kept his head up. He threw almost 300 yards. That's 286 yards against Toronto Argonauts. A backup quarterback coming, in the absence of Jeremiah Masoli, doing his thing, man. He's 24 for 29. Really stand-up performance. Getting the ball to Jalen Acklin, running ISO plays where we have a slant or a post, but it was mostly slant. And it's the same thing over and over again. Defense and the Argos are giving them a really big cushion, which means he's giving them a lot of space to operate in that area. And that's what really cost them, right? He had 7 receptions, along of 46. He missed tackles on defense. Like, it doesn't matter. But Jalen Acklin, the Ottawa Redblacks, I can see them improving. I think they're better than Montreal. I think they're better than a lot of these, the Edmonton Elks. They can really mount a comeback and put themselves in position to make the playoffs or make the East Division championship fairly soon. But you have to start winning games. And Jalen Acklin, Nate Behar, Ryan Davis, Shaq Johnson, Caleb Evans, all these guys, William Powell as the running back, have to make sure, and the O-line too, need to make sure they're maintaining their composure and winning properly as you go forward in the season. Because once again, season does come down to making stops and be consistent. You get lucky breaks here and there, but it's about consistency at the end of the day. And I think Caleb Evans, and they know they have Nick Arbuckle in backup quarterback, but Caleb Evans is balling right now. He's a short release, 24-29, 82%. 18.8 was pretty much 83%. He's showing why he should be a starter in this league. And with more reps and more experience, I think Caleb Evans will earn that spot for the rest of the season. And who knows if he can even put up a if they do make the playoffs and he continues his sharp play, Jeremiah Masoli may be out of the job. I'm not saying he will, but that once again, if he continues this play, you never know. Jeremiah Masoli is certified in this league. It's stamped. His credibility, everyone knows he's a great player. But we'll see exactly what happens with that. Dane Evans of Hamilton has to be better. They put their money where their mouth is. They gave him the starting job. He's only 13 for 18, had 1 touchdown. They didn't really throw the ball all too well, all too much. But when they did, it was effective. They ran a short screen pass to Dunbar, got all the blocks together. Dunbar is able to take that because he has breakaway speed. It's going to be a great game coming up this week, with Toronto playing Hamilton in Toronto. That's going to be a game where they need to win. The Toronto Argonauts need to win. Both teams must win right there, because whoever wins that, it means they will be tied for first in that division. But I think it will give Hamilton the heads up. because they've already beaten them. I can't wait to go to the Labor Day Classic. It's going to be, a great game between Hamilton and Toronto on the Labor Day weekend. It'll be incredible. But when you look at this week, we have Winnipeg, play Montreal. I don't think Montreal does anything to outclass the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have everything running in the right direction. Their O-line is playing incredible. Zach Collaros is just a magician with the football. He's able to get out of everything. And a lot of these quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks that are playing in this game are former Argos. A lot of movement with the quarterbacks, but Zach Collaros is showing you why he's the MVP currently right now. It's be really hard to knock him off. I see Winnipeg win that game. Just outclassing Montreal, and the Montreal dropping, obviously in the standings, and possibly even dropping lower than Ottawa if Ottawa were to win this week, as we see going forward against Calgary. Ottawa's at home against Calgary. Calgary has lost 2 games to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so they're going to look to get as many wins as they can to kind of challenge the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this week. That will be on Friday. That's going to be a really good game. Can Caleb Evans do the same thing again? And can the defense do a really good thing again? Get some turnovers, get some crucial stops against the Calgary Stampeders as they come to Ottawa. Is that something that they can do? I think they can. I think it's going to be a great game. But ultimately, I'm going to give my hat to Calgary to win that game because they need to get a little bit more. They need to get some wins under their belt. It's going to be a really good game to get some wins under their belt right now. Whereas now we go to the Eastern or Southern Ontario Classic between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Toronto Argos. A game that's going to be held at BMO Field. I've already said this. This is going to be a really, really tight game. Toronto last year, I went to every game last year for the Toronto Argonauts, and they never really lost at home until the playoffs. I see Toronto winning this game. I think they need to get off to a good start. Fans got to play, but got to be into it. Everyone's going to be into it. It's going to be a crazy ruckus crowd. You have Drake's concert happening right across the street at the Budweiser stage. That'll be incredible as well too. So the atmosphere in town will be undeniable and incredible. But I see Toronto win this game. I think McLeod Thompson has to have a good game. I think the defense needs a bounce back game. They got to cement their dominance and pretty much solidify their dominance against Hamilton in this game. I see them beating the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this game handedly, getting some stops. It might be a little bit close, but I think Toronto will probably pull away and win, especially after what happened last year as a loss in the East Championship or Eastern Semifinal, or Eastern Championship to go to the Grey Cup. They're going to show, they're going to come out, with the guns blazing. Brandon Banks, Speedy Banks, is going up against his former team. That'll be incredible. It'll be a really good sight to see how that pans out all together. That's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a really interesting game. I see this game being the game of the week thus far, and I'm going to say that Toronto will win that game. BC playing the Edmonton Elks in BC, which will be probably a good game. You will have probably Trey Ford come back. You might have Cornelius is playing quarterback, and Edmonton comes back and plays them in BC. But I think BC's right up there with the Winnipegs, with the Calgarys as the 3. And I believe the 3 best teams in the league right now, you can even say, are Winnipeg, Calgary, and BC, who are all West Division teams, right? They're the best teams. And I think they've already beat Toronto. So that already shows they've already beat the number 1 team in the East, right? It's going to be really tough for them to lose. And I think Nathan Rourke, if he's healthy, the O-line's playing really well. You have Rhymes, you have Lucky Whitehead. You have all these guys that are, great receivers on the BC Lions, and guys that have really kind of catapulted them to one of the top teams in the league. Dominic Rhymes, I said, Keon Hatcher, Javon Katoy is kind of like a tight end playing a big body, just being able to catch every single ball. James Butler, they've got some dogs in that team, and they got some really good players. And Nathan Rourke does a really good job of getting the ball, and they run really good plays as well too. They run really good plays with Rhymes and a lot of those speedy guys like Lucky Whitehead getting downfield with little, skinny posts, digs. And Nathan Rourke does a really good job of baiting the defense with his eyes and able to get the ball to his playmakers. And I think that will be the difference in them as the season goes on, because Nathan Rourke is unbelievable. Canadian quarterback, going to be one of the best Canadian quarterbacks to play in this league by the end of his career. I believe it. He's just a gamer. He's just tough. Goes out there every single play and just puts it on the line. He's one of my favorite players right now. He's the truth. I see BC win this game easily against Edmonton on Saturday in BC at home against Edmonton. And it's going to be really tough. I think Edmonton might be this year, unless they surprise us, might be the team where it might be the last place team, because I think Ottawa's coming up. I think all the teams are getting better and they're winning, and they're winning games and they need to. It will be very, very tough for them to get up there if they don't solve their quarterback issues. And of course, they've already, got rid of Nathan Rourke. So it's going to be tough to see exactly what happens there. And yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of movement around, but CFL is great. It's getting very interesting. Every team's kind of getting neck and neck. Winnipeg is, slowly grinding as that number one team, slowly climbing. Calgary's there, but they've got to win games and they've got to be able to beat Winnipeg. And once again, as I said before in last week's podcast, they shot themselves in the foot. They should have won that game in Winnipeg. They had all the opportunities to do it, but good teams find ways to win games, and that's exactly, or great teams find ways to win games, and that's exactly what Winnipeg did against Calgary a few weeks ago. And Calgary's just got to continue to climb, continue to get better, and I think they will because they got Bo Levi Mitchell was the quarterback. They got great, coaches. Dickinson, of course, there. It's gonna be. It'll be tough for me to say that they're out of the mix because they're still such a great team and they're championship proven. They've got leaders in that team. They got championship grit. They got experience. They're an incredible team. I see them climbing up and being there. So by the end of the year, I see Winnipeg, Calgary, BC, Toronto, Hamilton being those top echelon teams. But you might surprise you. One of those seasons may drop. And of course, in the championship game, Calgary, BC, Winnipeg, only two teams go to the championship in the Western Division. So one of those teams are going to get canceled out. Can BC beat Calgary? That's going to be interesting to see and see exactly what happens there because there's two great programs, two great teams. We'll see what happens, man. I love CFL football. It's incredible. I'm Brandon Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Graham_JB, GRAHAM_JB. Find me on Instagram at G_JB. Truenorth.Bet. You can, of course, find them on Instagram at Truenorth.Bet. You can find Superflex Sports. Really and truly, you can find us anywhere where you find your podcast needs. We are there. It is a vibe. Love CFL football. I'm going to get some more with you guys very, very soon. If you have any questions, let me know. This will be on YouTube fairly soon. Yes, I got my Black Panther shirt on. It's a vibe, of course. Black Panther is coming back in the theaters very soon. Rest in peace to T'Challa. Rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Great. I'm always going to rep this brand right here. Of course, I'm going to try to come with some guests fairly soon. But this is the CFL podcast for Truenorth.Bet. Truenorth.Bet, a bet in the right direction. You can follow us on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, anywhere you Twitter. You'll find us there. Find me. Let me know if there's anything you need to know, if there's any questions you guys have, because I do want to answer your questions fairly soon. So we'll be putting out polls, and it'll be an incredible time to get that going. But this is the Truenorth.Bet CFL podcast. I'm Brandon Graham. Later, taking off right now, but I want to just remind you all every single day, keep balling, keep believing in yourself. Enjoy your day, and we'll be back with you next week. Keep balling.